All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jasmine Patel. I am stepping in for Melissa, who was supposed to moderate this. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well. So this panel, we've referenced caregivers all day, and I think we can all agree they are a critical part of the team when it comes to healthcare decision making. And so on this panel, we're going to explore what it's like to be a caregiver and what we can all think about when we're trying to figure out the needs of caregivers to make sure not only can they take care of their loved ones more effectively, but make sure that they're also taking care of themselves during this process. So before we start, I'd just like to, I know we've already heard from some of you, but please introduce yourself, where you're from, how long you've been a caregiver, and to whom. So just go right down the horn.
My name's Vicki, from Pennsylvania. I have been a caregiver since 2015. My husband is Brian. He's a TSF ambassador.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I've been a caregiver, or what I like to call a partner in this, with my wife Colleen, who was up here earlier, for 9 years. We're currently in Rhode Island, but we've been on the journey from Arizona to California and now back to Rhode Island.
My name is Brooke. I'm a caregiver to Ireland since she was born in 2002, but since she was ill in 2008.
My name is Bree. I'm 20 years old from New Jersey. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a caregiver, but my brother Nick, I'm 5 years younger than him, so ever since I was born, it's really all I've ever known.
You are absolutely a caregiver.
Hi, my name is Rosanna. I'm from New Jersey, and I've been a caregiver for my son, Nicholas, for the past 23 years. He's going to be 25 in December.
All right, so each of you will have your own perspective on this, and Brianna, you as well. Tell us about the moment when you realized you were now stepping into this caregiving role. What were some of the thoughts running through your head? How were you feeling? Just want to start off with that. So we can start with you, Roseanne.
Well, when I found out, when my son first presented with symptoms, it was before there was even a test for NMO. So we had gotten not a quite definite diagnosis of what he had. They were like, it's either ADEM or something else. So we thought it was a one-time thing. So by the time he was diagnosed, he was already 11 or 12. So at that time, I'm a pretty positive person, so I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, I'm going to find out everything I possibly can about this. And of course, I'm sure like everybody, I got on the computer and looked at everything you could find and went through that. Oh my God, I cried forever. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to allow this. I'm here for him. And I think I poured all those feelings into, okay, I'm going to make this the best I can for him. So I put that all into, okay, we're going to get the best team. Maybe I shouldn't be like, I watched him like a hawk. I'm like, we're going to record everything. I became type A personality, and which I still am. And I think like at that moment, I had that just a little bit of time to go, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to now. No, the focus is on him persevering and just trying to keep him as healthy as possible.
Yeah, Brianna, I'm curious your role in this as well as a younger sister.
So for me, I mean, this is all I've ever known. I don't have any other siblings. It's just him. So since I've been alive, that's all I've ever known. That's, this is our normal brother-sister relationship. I don't know anything different. And it's hard because I know it's not the same as a lot of other people and their siblings. But to me, like, I'll cherish it more than anything because I just try to be there for him as much as possible. Because it's different than his mother or his father. Like, I'm closer to his age. I would think he's comfortable to come and talk to me. So I really, in the last year or so, he can agree, me and him have really worked on our relationship, definitely to get closer. We've gone on vacations together, just me and him. I don't know, I just want to just have him know that, we understand more than anybody.
Absolutely, Brooke.
I kind of shared in the first session, so we'll skip me so that we don't take up time.
No, I think it's hard for me personally, to say when I realized that I became a caregiver. I think what happened with us is because at the very beginning, you know, like everybody else here, you hear all of these different things. I heard Colleen called an interesting case 500 times by, you know, some of the best doctors that I've ever met in my life. And it puts you in this state of uncertainty. And then, you know, then you start hearing Devics being thrown around and things like that. And you start going on the internet, which you should never do. You know, and I think when at that point in my life, I think that's when I would transition to it, because it was probably the most frightening period of my life. I felt like it snapped something inside of me. But, you know, again, it's been an amazing journey, and I have to say, I love coming here. This is one of the most inspiring groups of people I've ever been around in my life.
I think for me it's kind of similar. I never really considered myself to be a caregiver. I'm his wife. It's in the vows, you know. This is part of my job as his wife. I'm supposed to take care of him, and he's supposed to take care of me. So I never really considered myself one.
So when each of you were, you know, doing your own research, trying to learn more about NMO, you know, obviously, yes, you can learn a lot from the internet, but for the organizations that are regularly putting out tools and resources there for different people, what kinds of tools and resources did you find the most helpful? Besides just reading things on the internet, are there, you know, different forms of these educational tools that were more understandable and digestible for you? Anyone can please speak up.
I would say camp. We went to we met at camp. It was 2014? Okay, so the SRNA used to be called TMA, and they would hold a camp every year for kids with TM, but then they let us come. And so that's how we met each other, and Nick, and Brianna. I don't know if you remember, but you sang at the first camp, which it was so cute. It was adorable. A star was born that day. But yeah, I think that was an organization that for sure was very helpful in the very beginning to help us connect with other kids, help Ireland connect with our kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big difference seeing somebody physically in person and talking to them than reading things or watching webinars on the internet. So I'm sure that was extremely impactful for both of you. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I think our first patient day was at Stanford, the first one we went to. Again, feeling very alone, feeling sort of out there, not knowing what's going on. We went to a patient day at Stanford. And I met, again, some of the most positive, wonderful people. I mean, it was a small patient day. There wasn't that many folks there. And it was, again, that far back, it was still early I think it had just become NMOSD at that point. It was still NMO right before that. It was right when they were sort of changing the diagnostic criteria. And it's just, I've always found my best resources talking to the people who are living it. You know, like, and, you know, I'll go with Colleen. There are some decent groups out there on Facebook and things like that. I mean, you have to temper yourself with that. But again, the one-on-one interaction with people who are living the same thing that you are, I found is the best resource.
Yeah, I married a librarian, so he has been kind of the biggest source of information for me. He is very much proactive about looking up information about this disease and figuring out things and talking to the doctors. In the beginning, it was a little different. You know, when we were trying to go through the whole, well, it's NMO, but no, actually, it's MOGAD. I was more of an advocate for him then than I am now. He is just so deep into the research, so that's made it a lot easier.
So, Brooke and Rosanna, this might be more relevant to both of you. How do you keep things organized, not only for yourself, but also for the people you're caring for?
Well, since I've been Nick's caregiver since before he was just learning how to speak when he first got sick. It's hard, I think, to kind of let him grow into the role of taking on, like, the process of, okay, this is my disease and I need to contact the doctors and I need to do this. So I've had to be extremely organized because with this disease, I'm sure most of you know, there's a lot of, like, forgetfulness and brain fog, and Sometimes he just can't even verbalize what he's thinking or what he wants to say to the physicians or whatnot. So I've made the iPhone a big asset, and I have all kinds of detailed notes. So I still go to the physicians, every 3 to 4 months. We go to all the specialists, and I try to kind of sit in the background. And when they ask, okay, what are the current meds? What are this? What is this? And he'll still look at me like, Mom, and I'm like, the notes. So he will go back, look at the notes. Oh, when was the last episode? Was it 3 years ago? The calendar. So I think it's helped us since he was so young. And I can't just say, okay, here's all the information. Here's everything that has ever happened to you. It's up here. But he was so little, he doesn't remember any of it. So I needed a place where I could say, okay, here's what happened. You can readily access it now as an adult. And then everything that we have as far as medical records wise, he goes to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and they are great. They gave us like care binders. So I have several binders, and everything just went by date in the binder. So if he ever needs a hard copy of anything, including the letter from the Mayo Clinic saying you're NMO positive, anything, it's in the binders to back it up. So I think I've seen that's been an asset for him, because a lot of times he's like, I don't remember.
I will say that my husband has been very helpful too with the caregiving. So I do the appointments with Ireland, and he tries to come to some of them, but he handles the financial side because it was really overwhelming to do it all. And so as Ireland has she is becoming an adult and is taking some of the things over a little bit here and there. We're giving her things. So she uses our health savings account card and makes payments on things, and she's learning how to do that from her father. And then from me, she's learning similar to what you're talking about bringing the list of the things that need to be talked about. I mean, these were things that we learned. I remember them talking about it at camp, bringing these notebooks and things with you to be prepared for everything, and she's starting to do that as well. So the organization, it's something that you figure out, and I'm hoping that she's doing a great job herself, and she leans on us whenever she needs to.
Got it. Thank you. So there's also kind of a difference in experience from when you're, caregiver, partner in health for somebody who's trying to find out what they're experiencing versus, now when they have a name for their condition, they're on a stable treatment plan. Talk to us about kind of the difference in experience for somebody who's trying to figure out what their loved one is experiencing versus just being there for the person who already knows what they have, and they just need to kind of continue their journey, and you as your role in a support system for them. Vicki, I'll start with you.
Write everything down. I cannot stress that enough. I have a list still in my phone of all of the medications that my husband is on in case anybody ever needs to reference it. But in the beginning, it was more important because he was so wrapped up in the being sick that he would forget things. Write everything down. If you have a smartphone, keep notes in your phone, have it with you all the time. I think that was the thing that really helped us in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go right along with that. When someone's going through, when they're at the point of they don't know what's happening to them, understand that they're terrified. You may be terrified as well. You likely are. But understand that when you go in to see the specialist or to see the doctor, and even to go to your point there, they're not going to remember everything. They're not going to think of every question they want to ask. So be honest with each other. Be honest with the doctors. Be an advocate for whoever you're caregiving for with the doctors. And absolutely don't be afraid to question the doctors, ask the doctors questions, ask them why they're going in a particular direction. Don't ever fear doing that, because I've not run into a doctor who was resistant to me asking a question, even if I sensed it would be a difficult question or if it was a stark disagreement. I mean, it's like you're their attorney. I always look at it that way. You just got to stay in front of it and help them get through it. And now, Colleen, we now know what's going on. Now that we know that it's MOGAD, she's perhaps one of the most organized people I've ever met in my life, so she stays on top of that, I mean, really, really well. But I've not stopped advocating, and I've not stopped staying in front of that. And I think like to think I've helped her get there, just because I've tried to make sure that I'm helping her. She knows that I have her back throughout all of it. And let them understand that you're there for their support, even if they don't necessarily want your help or feel like they need it.
I think as a caregiver, it's important to remind your person, for me and my daughter, that she has an identity outside of the disease and that we got to stay true to that. So she was diagnosed at such a young age, and so an identity isn't really developed that well at that age. So it's been difficult for her to know who she is outside of NMO. But I think she's coming into her own now. And so I would say, remind your person who they really are and the things they love before the disease, and help them to stay true to themselves.
I don't have a huge input on this, only because, you do most of the taking to the doctor and backing him up and all that stuff. But I just try to make sure, like, he feels like, this disease isn't his whole life. Like, you want to go get breakfast? Let's go get breakfast. You want to go away on vacation? Let's go away. I want him just to feel as if this disease is just on the back burner. So that's pretty much it. And then usually, like, when he was just in the hospital, a month ago, I just go and I make sure, like, keep him upbeat, keep him not really down in the dumps thinking about, the situation, try to get his mind off of it, really.
I think anybody who's trying to navigate getting a diagnosis, I think it's extremely important to not be afraid to get other opinions from other physicians. My son, we were so blessed to have an incredible pediatrician, God rest his soul. And he knew of a doctor who knew of another doctor, and we were sent in all the right channels, luckily, when we got his formal diagnosis. But I think maybe we were lucky at the way it all worked out, but I really feel like if right, you have a gut feeling. So I really feel like as a caregiver or partner to somebody who's going through it, if they are scared, just be like, you know what, for your mental health and just to see what really is going on, get another opinion. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I mean, so, obviously everybody's constantly thinking about how we can make our healthcare system much more patient-centric, that individualized concept of care. And a lot of that goes into just having this collaborative relationship with the care team. So, Kevin, you touched on this a little bit. You have never had any challenge or resistance to kind of raising your voice and having kind of doctors be receptive to that. But I would love to hear about kind of how the care team sees you as a kind of somebody who has a role in the decision-making potentially of the person that you are also caring for and providing support for. So I'll start with you, Rosanna. You're shaking your head.
Yeah. I remember one time my son had a pseudo relapse. So he was experiencing some symptoms at a young age. He's been paralyzed twice before. And he was not feeling well. And he was starting to have some difficulty speaking, which he's lost his speech before because of his brainstem lesion. He was having some difficulty moving and some difficulties talking. So I had taken him to the emergency room. And since he was a young adult, they were looking at me and I was speaking for him because he wasn't being able to get the words out. And they're like, well, what's going on in school? Is he having issues in school? Is he trying to get out of a test? And they started saying it was like an emotional problem. Well, is there something else going on? Is there anything going on at home? And as his mom and caregiver, I wanted to be like a lion. I was getting very angry. So I needed to carefully be like, well, listen, I'm his mom. I'm looking out for his best interest, but you need to know there's an extensive history here. Pseudo relapses, you're going to have a resurgence of old symptoms. He's lost his ability to speak prior. So it's a very fine line as a caregiver to not like say, hey, listen, this is the way it is and you need to listen to me, I know better. Because then they're going to react and then they're going to change what they would do for him. It's really difficult to let the facts speak for themselves without being judged in just like an instance like that we had.
Yeah, so now, currently, how would you feel, how would you describe your relationship with his neurologist, for example?
We've had a very long-standing relationship. We've gone through a couple of neurologists. Like the one that he has now is trained from the head now, who was trained from that head. So they all know that none of this is nonsense. Because sometimes they look at you like, I don't know if this is a real attack. I don't really see much on the MRI. So now when he sends a message through the chart, the portal, they get it. There's no more questioning. They know everything's above board. I felt like in the beginning we were kind of like tested because he was relapsing frequently, or he was having symptoms every couple of months until he got on a good regimen of the medication that he's on now. But prior to that, I feel like it was always like a little bit of a test. And until they learned, okay, he's not making it up or she's not over-exaggerating what he's going through. This is real. So now it's fantastic. He was flare-free for 3 years and just recently like woke up, vision pain, went in, he had a decrease of vision, and it was like within hours he was in, he got the solumedrol, he got plasmapheresis, he was able to come and go, so he stayed at home, which was great, and there was not a question at all between the neuro-ophthalmologist, his neurologist, his rheumatologist, everybody was like, but I think that came with 23 years worth of, oh yeah, we know, this is for real.
Right. So Brooke, obviously Ireland is old enough to make her own decisions now. So how is that relationship with her physician currently?
I think really good. Right now we've got a doctor. It is far away from us. We have to travel. But right now I think very good. I would say the only issue is that we're experiencing even currently is there's a disconnect. When we're in the office, the relationship is really awesome. But when we go home, we're just not able to get things done in a timely manner. For example, she's due for an infusion in 2 weeks, and the medicine hasn't been approved yet. It's most likely going to be not approved, and we're going to have to go through a lot of channels. We don't know. We don't know all the details of what will happen, but we've been trying to work on it for 2 months. She has been, and this was something that we've started to pass over to her. She has been emailing the office and talking to the office, and it's been very frustrating for her. So in person, it's great, but the behind-the-scenes stuff has been difficult, and I'm sorry she's going through that. Now we help her write those emails and texts, but she's starting to see firsthand there's a little bit of a disconnect sometimes.
Yeah. The follow-up communication is the most challenging. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the relationship that I have with the current team now, I feel like, and this goes from the infusion nurses all the way up to the head neurologist, is I feel like there is this mutual trust. And I often find them when they'll ask Colleen a question and Colleen will answer the question, they'll often just peek over at me to make sure I'm not kind of doing one of these in the background, hey, you forgot this, or hey, you wanted to mention that. I mean, I feel we're very fortunate with the group we're working with now. So yeah, no, I feel like, again, it's a relationship of trust for sure.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, when he was first diagnosed, his neurologist was an MS specialist, and that was all she could see. She had tunnel vision, and that was a difficult relationship to navigate because I felt like we were always butting heads with her. When she finally got tired of butting heads with us, she reached out to his current neurologist, and he's fantastic. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who it is. It's Dr. Levy, and he's amazing. And the day that he had his first appointment with Dr. Levy, and Dr. Levy told him, you know, your heart's going to kill you before this does, was the biggest relief of our lives. So it's important to advocate for yourself, even when that relationship isn't good. If you have to butt heads, butt heads.
So what do each of you do besides NMO? You know, this is a big part of your life, obviously, but how do you also just make sure your cup is filled along the way? We're all humans here. I'll start with you, Brianna. I'm curious.
So I just finished my 2-year associate degree at a community college, so I will be going away to get the rest of my bachelor's. But I'm actually because of everything he's gone through and everything I've seen with him in the hospital, I'm actually going for music therapy. So everything that I've seen and them coming in kind of inspired me, and it really kind of helped me figure out what I want to do with my life. But other than that, I work, hang out with my friends, that's really it.
Do your friends ever ask you about NMO?
Even when he was just in the hospital a month ago, nobody ever fully understands. And it's hard and it's frustrating. And I feel bad that I always have to go to you and talk about it, you know, when she's got her plate full already dealing with 10 other things. But no one truly never understands. And it's hard.
Do you ever initiate the conversation to say, hey, I want to talk about what I'm experiencing, or you're automatic?
I just told you a month ago, my best friend, who I'm super, super close with, she was asking me, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it, because no matter how much I explain it, people just don't get it. They'll never understand what it's like, you know, coming home one day and nobody's home. My dad's at work. My mom and my brother are in CHOP, but I didn't know because I didn't have a phone. So I come home and my grandparents are there, and I'm like, okay, here we go again. And it's hard, you know, you're 6 years old, 7 years old, you come home and everything just changed while you're away at school.
I have to say, I have a younger brother, and you are an incredible young sister to your brother. Really, it's amazing to see how supportive you are. You should teach my brother a few things. Rosanna, what about you?
Well, the things that make me the happiest are like my family. Like, thank God I have a good relationship with my husband, my daughter, like my son. Like, she's like my little girlfriend now. Like, you want to go for coffee? Let's just talk. And even if it's about nonsense. I have 3 dogs. I love them. They make me super happy. Don't underestimate therapy, because why not? It's not going to hurt. Go to therapy. Have another person you can have as an outlet to just talk, because this is a lot of stress on them, on us, and if you don't have somebody to go hang out with or go talk to or go shopping or whatever the thing is that you enjoy, at least you have somebody to get your feelings out to.
Yeah, and I think we need to normalize going to therapy. You know, I think it is becoming more and more of something that people are open to talking about, that they see a therapist, they go to therapy, and it's obviously tremendously helpful for them. But I do think, you know, people who are caring for a loved one living with a life-threatening rare disease, they also need support in different ways. So thanks for mentioning that. Brooke, I heard you are a creative director, right?
Yes. So I work at a church. So,
Okay.
but it's a very creative church. For example, at Christmas time, we're doing a series called "It's a Wonderful Life," and so my job is to create the environment in the whole church to look like the movie and create a market where people could purchase things for the, you know, related to that. So our church is very unique. Now we do love God and love Jesus, but we do a very different kind of style of church, and so I get the privilege of being very creative at my job. And then outside of my job too, I'm naturally just enjoy creative things. And outside of that, my family, we love to travel. And so we're always looking forward to the next trip that we can try and figure out some place to go. So.
And when you are traveling, are you typically the one who's kind of planning for every situation?
Well, so the disease has changed me. So I was a type A personality with the disease, and I wanted to be in control of everything. And then I figured, and vacations too. And then I figured out that I really enjoy not being in control. And so I've started planning vacations and not planning vacations, as in like we just show up and find stuff to do. And I'm actually enjoying that a lot more. Like I haven't researched where we're going very much. We're going. And I think it's a better lifestyle for me. Surrender.
Just curious, is there something that you make sure you and the family always travel with when you are traveling?
Yes.
Information card or?
We do have a doctor's note that we take with us everywhere. We just went on a cruise to Alaska. So we're in places sometimes, you know, where if she needs medical care, we always have a doctor's note with what exactly she needs written down, every detail of it. So if she did have a flare, we would not be turned away at a hospital.
Very important. Kevin?
All right, well, as someone who's been living the wing it lifestyle their entire life, I'm on board there, by the way. No, I mean, I work full time. I work from home. I've been working from home for years, really before COVID. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect. I have 2 dogs. They're very therapeutic as well, that I make sure I get plenty of activity with. our granddaughter, who has been a blessing to us, lives a mile away. So we get to see her very, very frequently. Colleen watches her 2 days a week. So that has been a beautiful thing. And I've really gotten into gardening as a sense of relaxation. Over the past few years, I've gone from killing 3 things to growing 20 things to this year. I've already added, I don't know how many square feet to the garden that I'm currently working on, and already planning it for next year when I just tore it out 2 weeks ago. So it's just, I made my world a little bit smaller, a little bit easier, and I just found ways to find peace in it, and it's worked very well.
I also work from home, so that does make things a lot easier. I know that's not something that is afforded to everyone, so I'm very lucky in that respect. We have 4 dogs in the house. Very therapeutic to have dogs around. It's the little things, whether it's, taking an extra 5 minutes in the shower or going and getting my nails done. You have to take that little bit of time for yourself. It's important.
Yeah, I mean, we're always saying how, people who live with NMO, you can't let the disease engulf their life. And it's the same thing with caregivers as well. Like, it's not the only thing about you. You are also somebody who has passions and wants and needs and dreams. And so I think it's really great to hear, especially for everybody who's listening, that you can, live your own life as well while you're also taking care of somebody with a rare disease. So we have a few minutes. I'm curious if there's any questions for anybody up on stage, either online or in person. Yes. Yes.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Jill, any online questions?
No online.
No online. Okay. All right. With that, thank you all so much. I think you're the heroes in everybody's eyes as well, along with the HCPs. So thank you for being here.